Left channel, right channel, center.
VTuber 一問一答自己紹介
Yeah, and the tape's
それじゃあ
rolling.
行くよせーのお名前は
Katt Phloxworthy.
呼び方は
Just Cat is fine.
あなたは何系 VTuber?
Nerdy cat girl who features spaceflight.
誕生日は
May 4th.
年齢は
Older than Pneumatic.
性別は
Transgender
身
female.
長は
4'11".
出身は
Sacramento County.
チャームポイントは
Dialogue hair clip.
突然ですがモノマネどうぞ
Yeah, what's up, Dad?
活動場所は
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
はじめの挨拶
Thank you for joining me.
終わりの挨拶
Bye.
推しマークは
Not at present.
配信タグは
Catlight feed.
ファンアートは
Cat pics.
ファンネームは
Cat's apprentices.
好きな色は
Iris indigo.
好きなことは
Vintage computers and
得
video.
意なことは
Technology.
ここで一言愛の告白好
I love you.
きな食べ物は
Ethnic foods.
好きな飲み物は
Craft soda.
好きな漫画は
Pizza 10.
好きなアニメは
Planet.
好きなゲームは
Left 4 Dead 2.
好きな音楽は
Classic rock.
苦手なことは
Human stupidity.
尊敬するのは
Space fairy people.
叶えたい夢は
ISS crew
最後にみん
interview.
なに一言どう
Thanks
ぞ
so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition. Booster ignition and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Okay, let's make sure things don't actually blow up in my face like they did earlier. Oh, why me? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Katt Phloxworthy here. Yeah, that was a bit unpleasant. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but basically, it all seems to come down to an errant Microsoft update. Why? Why is it without fail that Microsoft is always the one that I have to blame that shit blows up in my face like this? But to be fair, I actually did one little test before I backed out that update, and I actually tried sending an NDI stream straight from VTube Studio into the NDI Studio monitor to a different computer. That didn't have any issues at all. So I somehow suspect it's distro AV interacting with what's going on in Windows. That update seems to have caused it to go awry. So but anyway, I figured I'd send all that information to the forums over on OBS, the OBS project forums, to tell them, hey, there's a problem. I just hope it actually can be fixed. Although, if going to 24H2 will actually help, I might actually do that. And before I forget, I want to do this. There we go. Yeah, it's still in the middle of summer. It's been actually cooling down a little bit. It's the number of days above 100 degrees this summer have actually been mercifully few, which is good, and even further apart. Although, well, they're in clusters, but very, very, very small clusters at that. Anyway, like I said, one of the things I've been itching to do, and that is replace the computer that is doing, or maybe I have something, I don't know. But anyway, I've been wanting to update this computer with the exact same kind that I have the others. I did with the other two, notably the VTuber and Studio machines. I have different cases. I have computers in. They're both still Hewlett-Packard business class computers. And these actually, I'm not sure about, say, for example, the Elite Desk 800 G2s that I'm getting ready to replace, two of which I already have, and one I'm about to replace with the one I'm going to be working on during the course of this stream. I'm not sure if they'll take the Xeon E3 1230 V5s that I'm running these other two machines and this other one with. And basically, the main difference between those two is one, it can take ECC memory, which significantly bolsters the reliability on the machine. So if there's like a 1-bit error, they can fix that. If there's a 2-bit error, it can at least detect and let me know about it. But usually that happens like whenever, say, cosmic rays happen to manage to make it through the atmosphere and hit the memory and just sort of knock things out of whack a little bit, just enough to, you know, cause little errors and stuff like that. But anyway, that's one feature. The other is the this one does not actually have a built-in IGP in the chip, so I actually had to have a video card in there in order for this to work at all. So in order to plug this into my and on top of that, I was going to end up doing that anyway, even if this had, for example, the Core i7 6700, which could also be used in this computer. I would need to plug in something. I was going to plug in this card anyway, just so I can have an HDMI output to plug into my Elgato box that's plugged into the back of this computer that I'm seated in front of, which I normally game on, but or do other presentations like YouTube stuff and, you know, stuff like that, and then capture it via OBS Studio, which I then hand off to the other machine. And chances are, had that update still been in there, it would have probably messed that stream up as well. And I'm like, oh great, why does Microsoft always have to foul things up? Why? I mean, seriously, why? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, what we're going to be doing, I'm going to be showing a few little things, not just the usual, you know, setting up OBS Studio, but also a few other tools that I use. In this particular case, I'm also going to be showing a device that I set up by way of getting an older Nook computer, and it came with 32 gigs worth of mSATA, which is a kind of like an M.2, but not really M.2, insofar as that it's a card with a card edge that you put in the machine and then bolt it down. But this one, it's a different device, and I decided to get. I ended up getting one that was like 512 gigs. The 32 gig would not have been anywhere near enough, and it was there as an interim device. What I was doing is I was using that to at least boot the machine, and then sticking a like a 256 gig. Oh darn! USB thumb drive to serve ISOs via the program that I'm using. It's called ENVTuber, and I'm going to show you that as well. Or at least I'm going to show it to you right now from the computer that you're going to be, I could boot from, for example. Excuse me, just wanted to get a quick drink of water. But anyway, this, I needed to put some, I decided to go and get a 512 gig mSATA drive so that I can boot the machine and also have having ISOs to serve from. And on top of that, I also stuck in an FTP server so I can download stuff. I could probably also put a web server like, say, Nginx to just serve stuff over HTTP, but I'm kind of lazy to do that right now. But at some point, I definitely want to do that, if for no other reason, just so I can say I can download stuff from it. And but anyway, I'd rather have a dedicated machine than, say, steal up some space, and if I have to do something on that computer, I don't want to take the whole system down. Hey Vicky, how you doing? Good to see you as always. And let me give you a real quick shout out. Hang on. I've known Vicky for quite a few years now, and of course she is her own VTuber. Go check her out. And actually sometimes also play stuff with my friend Puzzle Pulsar, like Mech Warrior, and a few other games. And when I'm actually out, I'm actually able to go out and go work at someplace like any of the various cons that she and I go to. I'd see her there too on staff. Like for example, at Offkai this year, I think you worked in the gaming compartment doing their broadcasts over on Twitch, and of course, and we do other gaming broadcasts. Yeah, how'd that go, by the way? I hope everything went well, because that's one thing we did. And then you and I did stuff at Fanime back in 2023, which of course was our last Fanime, at least until, I don't know, the folks at Fanime decided to, be a little bit more above board, I think is the word I would use, or words to that effect. It went better than the main broadcast. Nice. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to switch over to the main program. Yes, it shows. Oh, I need to turn down the music a little bit. Hang on just a sec here. There we go. And I also have to reach behind me to turn the computer on. Also need to get the keyboard that's connected to it. And luckily, the rather interesting thing is, I'm using a different keyboard, but the same mouse on both machines, both the one that's in front of me and the one that's behind me that I'm going to be working on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this machine on, and I'm going to hit F10, which is the standard Hewlett-Packard, or actually inherited by way of one of its acquisitions, most notably Compaq. I'll explain that in a moment. Hang on. Anyway, I'm going to press the button. And I'm going to go ahead and start absolutely madly mashing F10, which is the standard thing. On an old Compaq machine, it would go into the setup, and if you had an old EISA-based machine, you'd also have to have a... there we go. What's going on? Okay, there we go. Anyway, it would go into the setup. You have a setup disk, which allows you to set up various things such as, I guess, interrupts and stuff like that. EISA, which is the 32-bit update to the old 16-bit ISA bus, and it allowed you to do stuff which is called level-based interrupt trig, as opposed to I can't remember the exact one, as opposed to the other one, but basically it would actually allow you to do interrupt sharing like you couldn't do with ISA. So anyway, we're in here. We're in the system information. There's the information. We have a Intel Xeon CPU, which is an E3 1230 V5, which is in the same area as the 6th gen Core i3, 5, and 7. And of course, it uses DDR4. But in this case, we can actually use error correcting DDR4. Or sometimes called RDR4, RDDR4 being registered memory. And we can, right now I'm just using standard gaming memory on this computer right now, but I could go get workstation / server grade memory and have a bit more robust memory on there. And that's the same kind that they use for servers as well. And I, unfortunately, originally was supposed to come with some memory, like about 16 gigs worth, but unfortunately, some dipshit stole the memory. So I had to go and I had to scavenge some memory out of one of the machines I'd offlined, like one of the computers back there that I've been, that I recently replaced with a computer just like this one. Let's see. Anyway, there's I can then use that. Let me do something real quick here. One thing else I want to do real quick here is there's no asset tag. We're going to change the owner tag to And I'll show you what that does when I reboot the machine. And if you did stuff like do a lot of deploying of machines that have relatively identical or relatively close to similar setups, you can save that and load it in. And for each machine there, you'd like stick a thumb drive in there with all the configs in there. You load it in there after saving the initial config that you want to put on the machines that you're getting in there. Then we have security. We can set up the create BIOS administrator password and post administrator password, post password. BIOS administrator, so you can get into the setup like we are now. And then post password. So, for example, when you turn the machine on, you have to know the password just to get the machine to start. TPM, it's got TPM. Oh, this one has 1.2. The other two that I have are 2.0. But that's all right, and it's been turned off, so we're not worried about that. And Sure Start is one of Hewlett Packard's things. I haven't tried with that one, though. In their advanced, we have the display language, schedule powered on. You can have it come on at a particular time. Boot options, fast boot. I think we're going to leave that off. And in here we have. After, actually, I'm going to be turning this one to power on because when it goes into my rack, I have a power, one of those remote power buttons that allows me to turn the machine on through, whether by my phone or in this case, I'm doing it through my Stream Deck too. I press the button and the machine will start up. And of course we have our boot setup. Secure boot configuration. It is currently disabled, which I had to do in order to do the next thing that we're about to do. And then let's see, system options. It says storage controller for RAID. We've turned that one off. And of course, we have the ability to change serial ATA and external serial ATA turn on speeds. Probably 3 gigabits a second because we don't want things to go and foul up because we're going on external cables. And on top of that, you have other connections in there which may or may not be doing anything any good. Let's see. Of course, we have turbo boost, hyper-threadings, multiprocessor. We're not going to worry about the virtualization on this machine just now. I might get another machine like that, and if for no other reason, just so I can have something I can do virtualization with. And then we have built-in device options. We have embedded LAN controller, which I've actually installed a second Ethernet card in there with 2 ports on it, and I'm going to be dealing with that off stream later. Because a lot of the stuff I got to do off stream anyway. One of the things I also have to do is change out the video card. I've got a Radeon RX 550 rather. We're only using it temporarily. You can actually tell it you have basically a dust filter thing, turn it on, and it says remind you after like 60 days to go like clean it out or replace it if you're using something like that. Audio, we've got those in there. And in here we have port options. You can actually turn them on and off. And also you could say what kind of devices you're going to be plugging into the USB ports. Like, for example, all devices, only keyboard and mouse, all but storage device and hubs, which means, let's see, so you can tell it to, you can't you can't put storage devices in there, and you can't bypass that port by using a hub to plug in a storage device. And of course, if you have something that you only want input devices in there, you can put that in there. And apparently, I somehow suspect you're going to need to plug it in directly into the computer. So anyway, we're going to go to the next one here. Option ROM launches. We're only using UEFI, so we're not going to be using any kind of legacy stuff, but we could show that in a moment as well. In fact, on some computers, you can actually tell it to boot network. You can tell it to netboot, which we're going to be doing in a moment or two. Depending on how, what you select, you can either tell it to boot over legacy boot or either IPv4 or IPv6 UEFI. We're going to go down here, slot settings. We have the settings for generation, which generation to use, generation 3, 2, or 1. And on this computer, we have a one lane PCI Express slot, which right now has the Ethernet card in it. The 16 lane slot, which has the video card in it. There's a four lane slot in there, which I could use, for example, as another NVMe slot. This one has one on the board. Unfortunately, I can't get to it because I have a card in the way, but I want to get one of those external riser slots because this actually has the ability to put a slot in the back, and then might even have. There's also a little bit of a connector on the edge of the motherboard, which could probably accommodate one of those things and allow you to put another PCI Express slot on there. There's the other 4-lane slot, and that's where I will plug in a 10 gigabit Ethernet card, and it too. And of course, there's be able to do. I have to see what that is. But one of the things I'm going to have to do some messing around with, and it says PCIe, PCI S error, number interrupt. And then down here we have power management options, and down we have management, AMT, active management technology, which is Intel. SOL, that's out of stream management. And we have UEFI drivers if you happen to have cards that have UEFI on there, and option ROMs to set up. On that note, we're going to go ahead and F10, save the changes. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do I'm going to demonstrate iVent which is and I'll put some of the stuff in the YouTube description and in a pinned item on a pinned comment on the stream after I do that, to show you all the various things I'm working on. Like, for example, here I'm telling it to do UEFI network, IPv4, IPv6, and of course that's the onboard Ethernet connection. We're going to do it over that real quick here. Let's see if it's going to give me. There we go. Start PXE over IPv4. Uses the IPXE package, which is an open source PXE bootstrapper. And we may have to do a little bit of messing around. We're going to do this. One of the things they may have to do is we're going to go to 1920 by 1080. And we're going to change the resolution, and then we're going to boot something else with it. In this case, we're going to, for example, boot into, say, Windows. I'm not going to boot 24H2 because for whatever reason it doesn't seem to like that. So I'm going to do 23H2, which I know does work. And there it goes. Boots in there. Going to give us the there's our boot window. And in a moment, it's going to come to the standard Windows startup screen. We can either install Windows or do a repair setup. Do a repair. Which I had to do at one point because I had to go from... Because originally this machine came with a 500 gig spinning Rust device. Let's see. I'm going to switch this over to this computer. Next. Let's say, for example, we go repair the computer. troubleshoot, command prompt, whatever, uninstall any updates, recovery, system recovery image, system restore, startup repair, which I had to do yesterday. One of the things I forgot to do is delete the BCD file after I had imaged it onto the NVMe device. So, but in any event, that's how you use that. We're going to do a Control-Alt-Delete. Oh, that's right. Hang on. We're gonna escape real quick here. We're gonna go back another one here. We're gonna turn off the computer and we're gonna turn it back on in a moment. And we're going to go into. I'm gonna show you a legacy boot and show you how that works. You may have seen this on occasion. And of course, we're going to have to hit F10 again. Then we're going to go into the BIOS and set the setup here. And you notice the line up there? It says the Phloxworthy Workshop and Labs. The only thing I need to do at some point is get some asset tags, because I may, for example, take this to a site, do a show and stuff like that, and then everybody will say, "Oh, that belongs to Katt Phloxworthy," etc., etc., etc. And of course, I can actually do inventory control, like say a business or an enterprise would use. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go into not here. We have to go in here, and we're going to go to the top one. Legacy support enable and secure boot disable. Those two items are mutually exclusive. You cannot have both turned on. You can have one or the other turned on, but not both. But you can have both turned off. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. F10, save changes. We're going to switch it back to standard UEFI only, but we're also going to leave secure boot off. I don't see a need for that on these machines. And then as soon as the BIOS splash comes on there, there's the bootstrap ROM side up side. Actually, that's for one of the ones on the motherboard. No, on the card. I'm gonna reboot this machine. And we're going to F12 to boot off the network. And one of the things it'll probably give me the opportunity to do is select which port I'm going to boot from. I don't think the ROM on this card has the ability to boot. Like, for example, it has these two cards. And I think the FE is the onboard Ethernet controller. There it goes. I hope. There it goes. DHCP, so then it can pull down an IP address. Pulls the IP address. And it goes into iVentoy. And I don't know if only if this were on a legacy only machine, you would only be able to boot legacy stuff. Not so sure about that, but anyway, what we're going to do next is we're going to reboot the computer and get it into. We're going to get it back into the UEFI. Now it's complaining at me. There it goes. And once we're in, we're going to switch it back to... Nope, we're not going to exit just yet. We will be momentarily, though. We're going to switch over to Secure Boot. Legacy support disable, and Secure Boot disable. I have to disable it because there is no secure boot signature on this one, and I don't have anything other than the standard Microsoft signatures in there. You can actually create your own signatures and either add them as a what is called a mock, M-O-K, machine owner keys, which can then be used to, which you can then use, for example, if you have, say, the UEFI, the EFI shell. You can sign that with your own key. I don't know if there are any ones that are signed with Microsoft's key, but what you would do is sign it with your own key, and then stick it in a keyring on the system right here. And what we're going to do here is save it. Then you can do stuff like making changes in the system from the EFI prompt. Now we're going to do a standard boot. But anyway, I'm gonna give you a quick link to the actual if you do your own if you want to do your own server. That is the application that I was booting from. Now we're starting the machine up. Coming up in just a moment. There we go. We're logging in. And we're going to make a few other changes real quick as well, because this is pretty much a stock setup. I made a few other changes. Most notably, I created a couple of accounts. And on top of that, I moved my main working account to a different partition on this machine, or on this computer, it's a completely different drive. Not just a different partition, but on a completely different device. In this case, I have two different NVMe devices that I work on whenever I log into the machine. One of them sits in one of them has the operating system and all my apps on it. Another one has all my home directories on it, and a lot of the other stuff is on different devices. This one can take up to 4 devices here, but I'm only using 3 of them, and one of those 2 other ones, I'm only using 2 lanes of the 4 that I can use, because the other 2 are actually being used to work the serial ATA interfaces. So I'm not really all that worried about the speed. And if anybody has any questions, by all means, don't hesitate to ask me about it, because that's what is all about. Oh, I need to go and switch I need to get my there we go. Oops, that's not the one I wanted. There we go. That's what I really needed. Basically, I need to be able to see my system. I was sort of watching it through the screen that was coming out the back of my. That's another thing. There was an update that came out for Windows. I'm not sure if it's available for 24H2, but 23H2 had an update, a security update that applied. It messed up my setup pretty fierce, something pretty fierce, and I'm like, guys, why? I'm gonna check something real quick before we continue, so stand by, bear with me real quick here. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're going to head back to the stuff I'm gonna be working on. Oops, I need to go to the right computer with pointed at the right computer with my mouse. I have one of the nice Logitech. I think they call it the Triathlon. The model is M720. You can actually control up to 3 different devices using either unifying receivers or Bluetooth. So you could actually, for example, connect your. I have one that's for my my new laptop, my gaming laptop. I have it set up using Bluetooth for the internal controller, but I also have I still have the actual unifying device that's in the. It's stuck in the battery compartment. First things first, we need to get into. There's a computer I need to get onto. Oops. Helps if I actually use the right keyboard. Actually, if I have the key hand on the keyboard correctly. And we have stuff I want to get in there. Most notably, I want to go in the start menu. That's another thing that's going to happen. The start menu is going to be changed thoroughly. And I'll show you that in a minute. File Explorer. We want to go into pictures. And usually what I like to do is new folder. We go with a oops. That's another thing I've got in here. There's the machine that you're seeing me browse from is actually another machine on my desk. It's running Linux and running a program called actually it's a Linux-based package called Zima OS, which is made by I can't remember the actual name of the thing. They have products called the Zima Cube, which has which is a sort of a file server type setup thing. You can store files on there. You can actually use it with your phone, like to back up stuff that you have on there, mainly like your pictures and stuff like that. What we're going to do is we're going to get that one over here, and of course, to make this as my desktop background. Bam! That's what I put on all my machines when I first set them up. And the next thing we're gonna do, that's another thing. I need to get my my user profile picture set up. But before we do that, one thing I want to do, there's a program on here I need to install. That's what I wanted right there. We want to install this one called OpenShell. Of course, you know the usual Windows 7 and Windows 7 start Windows 11. Sorry. We're going to use what I prefer, which is called OpenShell, which has been around since about Windows 7. Because then you can use it to do, and it's an open source program. And originally it was by this other guy who actually had it closed for a while and then got tired of working with it. So he reopened it and let someone else say, here, go have some fun. And it's since been pretty nicely, been a nice program to work with. Install that real quick. We're going to keep this open. We're just going to stick it in the background for just a minute. And what's going to happen is we do this. We can either select the classic style from like Windows 95, 98, ME 2000. 2 columns, which is Windows XP and Vista. Windows 7 style, which is another option. I like to party like it's 2000. There's another option I also do. Let's do this here. I go to the item that says here. Also give some. Like I said, I'm going to put all the linkage in the video description once I finish the stream, as well as put it into a pinned comment. Excuse me. Let's see here. Special items. In this case, a lot of this you can actually do in standard Windows start menu as well. Favorites, we don't need that. Computer, the display as a link. Basically, it opens the new window here. It says here, recent documents, display as a menu. Here's what I like to do. User files, I'll leave that alone. User documents, same thing. User pictures, we don't mess with it, but I'll just leave it alone. Here's what I do. Not as a link, as a menu. Network connections also as a menu, and I'll show you that in a moment. Printers, if you have any printers connected. I don't have any installed at all right now. I need to get my laser printers out of storage, and first of all, figure out where I'm going to put them, and two, I'm going to deal with the power that those things draw down like it's going out of style, and then go okay. So for example, I go to settings, control panel, all my settings here. If like the standard control panel like you would have, you do have to like do some other special things to get it. There's the Windows, the standard settings window, like Windows 11 would. And if you wanted to say, for example, there's the usual start menu, like accessories. If you're using any of the standard apps, like from the Microsoft Store, you go to apps, and there you go. You have settings, network options. There you go. There are my two Ethernet connections. Ethernet 2 and Ethernet 3 are on the card. Ethernet is the one that's on the motherboard. And then open shell menu allows you to make all those changes like we did again earlier. And a whole bunch of other things that you can do in there too. So anyway, the other thing I need to do, we could do better than this. We can do a lot better than this. Like I said, I'm partying like it's 2000, Windows 2000. So what we're going to do, there's another program called Explorer Patcher. One thing to bear in mind, this might have a problem, although probably not as bad as it was before, from what I understand. Microsoft was actively blocking this, but apparently they're not doing that anymore. But let's hope it doesn't happen this time. Okay. It kills off Explorer and then restarts it and basically replaces the start menu. It looks like standard Windows 7. Update now. It goes over to GitHub, downloads it, installs it, as well as getting all the various symbols that are used for the program. That I've never really seen any issues with. Hello there. You should block. No one should block. Thank you for the kind words. I do my best, and welcome to the workshop and labs. And right now, I'm just working on doing initial setup on this machine. I already did a lot of other stuff. What we're going to do real quick here is properties, which is the menu option for this. One of the things we have to do here is make a couple of other options. Taskbar settings. We're going to go Explorer Patcher because you cannot use the Windows 10 mode from this in 24H2. So I'm basically getting ready ahead of time before actually updating this. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to that. Plus we also need to reload the options. So we need to do that. And there we go. There's the workspace one, and then there's the Windows, there's the search one. We're going to close that out real quick. And before we continue, we're going to do some taskbar settings. Task view, search box, we're turning that off entirely because I really don't use that. Widgets, we're going to turn off entirely. We don't want those. Don't need to worry about that. That one looks good. Excuse me. And I know there's an item here when those... Okay, that's not what I'm after. Taskbar behaviors. We're going to put to the left because whenever we get that one in there. When taskbar is full, I prefer having the names on there. And we're going to make a few other changes here too, and we're going to turn off locking the taskbar in a moment, because we're going to do one thing that's been around since like back when Internet Explorer first became part of Windows 98 and 95. Lock the taskbar. We're going to unpin from taskbar. Unpin from taskbar. I did not do that. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be calm about the matter. And task. I'm going to try that again. There's another thing I want to do. This. Do a shift delete. Bye. Bye. Okay. We're not going to be doing mail from this at all, so we're unpinning that. Don't really do anything from the store with this computer. We're going to unpin from the task. We're going to unpin from the taskbar, leaving that one alone. Now we're going to do one other thing real quick here. Toolbars. We're going to add a new toolbar. Oops. Users. Cat P. God, that could be taken out of context. One of the things I was thinking of at one point when I was like reading my username, it's like, you know, someone could have a little bit too much fun with that, you know, myself, and especially myself. What we need to do is go there. See what's going here. Oh, that's why. There. We have to type it in because it's hidden normally. It has the hidden bit turned on. We go to roaming, Microsoft, Internet Explorer, quick launch. Select folder. I'm going to raise this up by 1. Pull this down by 1. Right click on that. Toolbars. Well, actually, we're going to go to show text. That's on each of the items in that list. Show title. First things first, get rid of this goddamn thing. I mean, seriously, let's get rid of it. And hopefully never comes back. And of course, that's where I usually prefer to launch all my stuff. Not as pinned items in the taskbar. I've actually had that where I was, what was I trying to say? I thought the program was running when it was in there, and it was like, yeah, I don't want that. So anyway, that's why I do things like this. And of course, one of the first things we're going to start doing, considering that this is a nice going. Anyway, on that note, we're going to go back to over here. Oh no, I've missed a computer setup stream. I've been missing a computer setup stream. Oh yeah. Well, you can of course always watch the VOD once it's done. And on top of that, one of the things I'm planning to do is put a lot of these tools I put in there. I've been saying throughout, I'm going to be putting that as part of the description on my YouTube video, as well as a pinned comment. So then, if anybody wants any of these tools, and just about all of these are freeware and or open source, you can get them. And I want to make sure everybody has the ability to get it, because I rely on this so much every day, and I figure why not give it to everybody. Anyway, what we're going to do over here is go to Streaming Soft. The most important one, of course, is this one, OBS Studio. We can't live without it, and we're going to go to... I actually copied straight from my main desktop, which is where a lot of my stuff is downloaded. We're going to go into the distributions, 31.x, and we're going to go straight from here. That's another thing I got to do, I just realized. That's one thing I also really need to do on this machine, considering it's also another speaking of Windows setup streams, of course we had to, yes, we got to accept that. We're installing all the apps. Before I go too far, I'm going to show you something that I use a lot of. I'm weaning myself away from this for managing my OBS Studio setup. I know you can get OBS Studio by way of Steam as well as by way of the Microsoft Store. I manage it completely independently from everything else because I want a lot of control over this. And of course, I'm going to tell it we can start the program from there. We're going to let me check, see what's going on here. I thought oh, maybe it was the machine that was beeping. You might even be hearing little beeping coming from the anything that the computer's beeping. You'll probably hear. Oh, and the other thing I want to do before I forget, let's do one other item here while I'm thinking about this. I'm going to go into settings and settings, personalization, colors. First things first, dark. We're going dark. We're going really dark. So the next thing we want to do, this is going to be a really nice thing, especially since you have if you happen to have a lot of programs that you manage, especially a lot of the ones that don't auto update, such as OBS Studio, which I actually personally prefer to manually update. But one of the things we're going to do here, I'm going to go Phlox Files Downloads. There is, there's the Chocolatey install PS. It's a, we're going to make a copy of this and run this in our, actually what we're going to do real quick is, download, I'm going to copy it here. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install a program called Chocolatey. It is a program that is used to manage programs that you have installed on your computer. And depending on your setup, you can actually use OBS just fails to update itself so much. I just have downloaded the installer and installed it itself all the time. Yep, I do it myself too. So what we're going to do next is what we need to do is we need to go into, it works best if we do this from PowerShell, so we have to go from here. We're going to use the 64-bit PowerShell, click it and run as administrator. And I'm going to show you the actual command before we actually run it. Okay, this is the actual program we're going to run here. Or I'll just copy the command straight in there. What this does is it takes off a few restrictions. And what that does is allows us to run a program within PowerShell that basically installs something at the system level. And it's written in PowerShell, and then there's another program we're going to install with it momentarily, which makes it even easier to work, because it'll be now it's downloading all the various programs for it that it needs. Now, according to this, you may or may not necessarily need to restart the program, restart whatever shell you're doing it from. But I'm going to actually do it from here anyway. Choco is the name of the program. Install GUI. And since I didn't tell it to, it's going to actually ask me whether or not I want to install these. Either one, run the script yes, all, or no, or print. I'm not sure if print means to display the list of it, or if you have a printer attached or have access to one over the network. In this case, we're going to run them all. It basically installs all the dependencies for this particular program. And we're good to go. And to make that work, the next thing we do is this. Programs. Chocolatey GUI. It needs elevated access, so we're going to go ahead and let it have it. And one of the things I usually like to do is make a few, on a new setup like this, is make a few changes. Like this. Default to dark mode on. Default tile view for remote sessions. No. We want text listings. Bleh. Exclude installed packages. If there are items in there that need updates. Remote Chocolatey sources. And right now I'm using the default ones that it comes with. You can actually get a professional install, or you can use it in a business, as well as the ability to actually add additional repositories of programs, whether it's made by like communities or your workplace, for example. Especially if you're like a developer, or if you have software that you use internally, like custom software. And I'm also going to make a couple of other changes, most notably console output. I always turn that on because I like seeing what's happening. Especially if there's a problem, it'll actually tell me right away. I'll see it before the error even comes up. Let's see. I think we're good. Let's go ahead and go back to. Nope, that's not what we want. We'll make a real quick settings change here. There's the switch for dark mode. We're turning that off. That should work now. There we go. We go to Chocolatey for the listing. Remember the old saying, you start up Internet Explorer to get a different browser? Or in this case nowadays, start up Edge to get a different browser. Well, guess what? This is how I do that. I like having all that output in there, because sometimes if there's a problem, it'll tell you right then and there. Uh-oh. Like, for example, here. That's what I mean. I like being able to see what's going on here. Well, shoot. You know what? Let's fix that problem right here and right now. Just makes me think of Linux package managers. Yeah, that's true. That's exactly what it is. NuGet is spelled N-U-G-E-T. It's sort of a takeoff. The Chocolatey portion is a takeoff of that, where NuGet could also be spelled as N-O-U-G-A-T, which is what you see like in Three Musketeers and Milky Way. So it's kind of a funny little thing there. So anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to put that to the side. And I just realized I'm probably going to have to go into, let's see, programs, apps. I'm going to hate myself for this. I am really going to hate myself for this. One thing I can do, though, while I'm thinking about it, is get my favorite alternate browser of choice. And no, it is not Firefox. Mainly because they decided to go shit on your privacy. So I decided I'll go shit on Firefox instead. Install. I'm going to actually do the initial setup of Google Chrome off stream, mainly because of security issues, security and safety issues for myself on stream. I'm going to just get Chromium instead for some of the other stuff that I might do, because that is actually used for other purposes too, not just as being a web browser, but for some of the other stuff I want to do. While I'm at it, let's go do that while we're talking about it. And of course, that's the basis upon which Google Chrome itself is based. And we're going to go ahead and install that real quick. That shouldn't... What I'll do is I will download it. I will download the. I will download that particular item later. And we're probably also going to take a quick. So many things are made. Are just Chromium. Yes. One of the biggest. Two items that a lot of people are, for example, using Opera, whether in its vanilla or in its GX form. That is actually based on Chromium as well. And of course, another one and there's one that I use in order to manage my streams with, and that is because I can actually get rid of only the address bar, and that would be oh shoot, what is the name of that? I have to switch over to this computer for it. Vivaldi. That is also another based on Chromium as well. And of course, I do a lot of other things like Node. Oh. I'll install that. And that should takes a moment or so. One of the other things I also have to do, and that is hot swap. Because one of the things I'm going to do with this one that I couldn't do with the other one, well, actually I could have done, but I chose not to. But it actually makes more sense now because I now have the ability to have both Chocolatey and NVMe devices in here. I just chose to use NVMe for the current installation, but my ultimate goal is to replace that. There's also two standard drive bays on here. But that again, I was doing it from the wrong computer, the wrong computer's keyboard. We're going to go hot swap. Note this is different from how you swap thumb drives. This actually does stuff from motherboard or card-based Chocolatey, not stuff in the serial port USB port-based machine drives here. Made by a Japanese fella. And there's also another, an older version that allows you to use it on older versions that go Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, and of course, and Windows 8 and 8.1. Actually, I forget the point where they delineate the different versions of it. And on top of that, another thing about Chocolatey, it goes all the way down. Oh, don't tell me. Uh-oh. We'll deal with that later. I'm going to go through all the stuff that I discuss on stream. Like I said before, some of the stuff that I talk about, I will put linkage in there so then people can find it, download it, and make use of it. Because honestly, I like making sure that people can make good use of their computers. And I think for now, we're going to do some of the other stuff that we're about to work on in just a moment here. And one of the things we're going to do real quick is we're going to switch over to, let me get my, I'm going to grab my, I need to switch over to this real quick here. We get OBS Studio on the local machine and bring that over here. And we're going to switch over to window capture. I'm going to go over here real quick before I do anything. Switch over here. Let's see. I need to switch this one. Okay, I'm going to switch this over to a different tab before we switch in. I'm going to switch that down here. We're going to go to the old encoder machine in just a sec. We're going to go to a remote access, remote access window, and I'm also going to show you real quick. And I'm reminiscing about eSATA. Okay, yeah. We're going to switch over here. I'm also going to show you just. I'm not sure how much it's going to mess with the system, but we're going to. This is going to be fun. Because I'm actually going to be looking at the encoder machine. Well, no, actually, let's not do that. Let's instead, we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to set it up over here. App data. We're going to go over here. And we're going to switch over to there. I'm going to bring NDI video up here. I meant to go there. There's the actual, the machine that you're looking at is the machine that's actually displaying this, it's actually giving the streams over there. I could, for grins and giggles, do this. See how all this works. You know what I mean? That is the actual encoder process that is actually sending stuff out to Twitch, YouTube, and whatever happens to be there. So yeah, that's how that works. And one of the things I like to do on some of these machines is rather than just doing things by hand, this is going to sound a little funny, but I call this sort of a kind of raw dogging, if you get my point, because I'm going to be going into not local yet. We're going to be copying this one from roaming. We're going to go over here where it says here OBS Studio. That was an old version before I went, I believe, over to 30. I need to do something about that. I should probably get rid of it at some point. But anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to open up another window here. This one's on an Elite Desk 800 G2. Originally came with a Core i5 6500. It has since been replaced with a Core i7 6700. Oops, not on that computer. This one. Let's see now. Excuse me. There we go. I think it's probably gonna gripe at me. Nope. What we're gonna do? We're going to do this. Do I have? I think I have Chromium installed on this one. Yes, I do. We want that one. We're going to switch over here for just a sec here. we should be able to get into there now. Yep, we're in now. Oop, darn it. I opened a file I didn't want to open up, I think. We're going to go open up another window here real quick here before we go too far, because I accidentally ended up closing the window. Let's see. That's where I wanted to go. We're going to switch back over here. Don't mind the color bar remnants up and above and below. What we're going to do is we're going to go to roaming first. Actually, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to encoder. I'm going to go and create configs. We're going to go do all three of those directories, which is local, localo, and roaming. Try that again. And down here, we're going to add... And if anybody has absolutely any question whatsoever about any of this stuff that I'm doing, shout out, please, because I want to help anybody who learns on some of this stuff that who wants to do some of the stuff I do. Because a lot of this stuff you can learn a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I've learned how to do, be able to do things really fast on this. For example, we have. Let's see, a lot of old programs in here, like Leorin board, which is the original version of what is now known as SAMI. That's where all the config files were stored for that. But nowadays, it's actually stored right in the same directory, I think, nowadays. We're going to go to OBS Studio. OpenShell, which, of course, is a program out there. Let's see, not local. We're not there. We want to go to roaming. That's where the normal config files for OBS Studio are installed on a day-to-day basis. We're going to go to OBS Studio. Go into roaming. Copy here. We're going to copy the whole thing en masse in one go. Once we're done, we'll go to the actual computer itself, and we're going to copy all those files in. One of the things I'm also going to do, just for safety's sake, I'm going to turn off the display. Not so much for, I'm going to be doxing myself like that. It's more like it might end up slowing something down. And I made a settings change at one point. I thought it was going to be a problem. Skip. 8 files with the same names? Oh, I don't know. Let me decide for each file. I don't think it's anything I need to worry about. Skip these files. Oh, let's go back. Skip these files. And there we go. Now we go to local. We're going to leave, actually, we can leave local there. We're going to local here. We don't have OBS Studio here. There's some stuff for other programs here. If you do stuff with with anything related to VTube Studio, TITS, or any of the other related programs, you will want to look at the other items in here. Especially anything that involves making stuff that uses the home directories. So what we're going to do here, we are going to there. We don't see anything for local. We're going to go check local low. Local low is used quite frequently by OBS Studio. And it doesn't, I don't appear to be using it here, so I'm not worried about that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is leave that here. We don't need to worry about that for just a sec here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back over here for just a moment so I can make a real quick change over on OBS Studio itself. We're going to disable preview. We can go back here. One of the things I want to do real quick here, there's a program called Stream Up, and it comes in a plugin form. This is by Andy Stone, and he goes by the name Andy Lippy on his various media when he's doing stuff related to streaming. And as I like to say, put a rock to the stone. Ayo, dude, I hope you're doing well. The main thing you use it for example, is to install various programs and stuff, software, and other dependencies for some of the stuff he offers, both for free and for sale. But the main thing I use it for is for anything having to do with plugins. Let's do that real quick here just for fun. Everything is up to date according to that. But if you have some of the stuff that it doesn't know how to handle, here's what I do. Settings, and there's a button that says, and then basically gives me a listing of all the plugins I have installed, like advanced scene switcher, ATA multi-stream, etc. That gives you a list of all the stuff in there. Over here are some of the stuff in here that doesn't have any versioning information, that the Stream Up plugin doesn't know how to deal with, that you take a look at and say, how many of these need to be updated by hand? Like, for example, multi RTMP, that's another thing that some people don't fully understand is, where is it installed? It is actually not installed in the same space as OBS Studio itself is installed on Windows machines. I'll show you that in a moment. In fact, I will do that while I am in this area here. There's a directory that's in another place where there's a lot of other program stuff stored. In fact, let's do that right now. Actually helps even more if I do it from the same machine, from the area I need to be. We're going to go over here. Going to be in /program file. No, excuse me. Program, which is normally hidden when you're looking at the root of C. Press enter here. This will be all the programs installed. Some of the programs installed on your machines. Not all of them are going to be enumerated here. There's OBS Studio here. Plugins. And this is where the RTMP, the multi-target RTMP plugin itself is installed. Bin 64-bit. This is where the DLL and PDB files are located. And then data is where all the locale information is stored. You can actually take any OBS Studio plugin and turn it in that form. Whether it is in this case, it would be something I would install manually. And the nice thing about this particular directory, it is not, I repeat, it is not privileged. It's not needed to be privileged to install stuff in there. You just copy stuff straight in there. Like I said, you do have to tell Windows Explorer where to put it. In this case, it's /program data. And of course, OBS Studio is in here. All the plugins go here. And also Distro AV installs itself here. I put Stream Up myself in here. I changed I had to change the directory layout from what Andy had and do it manually. And then what we're going to do next is we need to go back in there. I'll show you that in a minute when we get into the other computer. because I do need to install StreamUp in there so I can use it to enumerate all the stuff that I have in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to install plugins. For example, we have Advanced Scene Switcher, very, very important setup plugin on my setup here. So on that note, we're going to grab my OBS Studio here. We're going to switch over to the HDMI capture again. Wake up. There it goes. And now we're going to go ahead and copy the files in. We're going to start getting all the installations in there. We're going to switch over. Actually, I need to get my viewport in here. I'm using another plugin by Exceldro, whose plugins I make extensive use in my streaming operations. Most notably in this case, this is what's the name? Stream. It's called Source Dock. Basically allows you to create docks either within OBS Studio itself, or in my case, I create windows that are always open that I can use, for example, to watch myself play on my Switch, for example. Or in this case, I'm using, of course, I'm using it as the monitor to watch, to work on my computer with. And of course, you guys are watching this as well. And it also helps even more if I have the right mouse. I have my mouse set up to the right computer. So for that note, we're going to go over here. Nope, not that one. Going there, we're going to go into the OBS Studio directory. 28 and later. Plugins. Installers. For example, I think this is the latest version. Yep, it is. We're going to install that. It is an automation. It's, even though the name is Advanced Scene Switcher, what it does is barely, I mean, calling it an advanced scene switcher by itself does not give this software any kind of justice. I use it to the stuff that you watch whenever you open my stream and you happen to notice that you're in the color bars and stuff like that. All that stuff is automated, and that is handled by this particular plugin. And when I start the sequence, which gives you the VTuber Q&A intro, that is also handled by this plugin. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with this base, if then or else and stuff like that. So many things. I cannot emphasize how important it is to have these. Like a new GPL version 2. Basically going it into the usual spot. There that goes. That's another thing I need to grab real quick before I forget. A very, very important piece of software that I cannot live without every day, practically. And we're going to install 7-zip real quick. So basically, you don't have to worry about downloading all the stuff like that. You just look for the file, look for the name you're looking for, and just run the program, run the executable, and there you go. And click on the double click on the item, and then bring it in, and that gives you everything you need right there. So let's go ahead and go back to the computer for just a sec here. And then we are going to head back to, and I'm going to look at the other one here. It says ATEM Multistream. We're not going to actually install it on this computer this time. Well, actually, I suppose I could. It's easy to go in there. This one is 1.0.7. In fact, one of the things I need to do real quick before I forget. Go in here. Nope, not that. We wanted to do this instead. 7-zip. Run it as administrator. And one of the things I do from the outset on this, we go over here, go to Tools, Options. First things first, this allows you to make changes, first of all, to all users or me. See what I'm trying to see. That basically allows me to associate all the programs to WinZip. I mean, to, excuse me, 7-zip with this. WinZip is Corel nowadays. I remember that was one of the longest time, one of the biggest, the two biggest name archiving programs out there get used a lot, WinZip and WinRAR. I don't use WinRAR. I have political reasons to not use WinRAR. The main reason, of course, is I'm a cheapskate. I don't want to pay for that, but it's for other reasons that I'm not going to go into here. Anyway, let's do an F5. Oops, not that one. It's that F5 I wanted. There we go. Ah, sheesh. Anyway, what we're going to do, next we're going to do is we're going to look for ATEM multi-stream. Installing everything, as always. I actually have it in there in addition to that, if for no other reason, just so I can at least be told, hey, there are updates available. Go have fun. The main thing I really want to see out of ATEM multi-stream is the stuff that the other plugin has, which is it takes cues from the main the main button where it says start and stop streaming, and be able to turn those on and off. And next one is downstream keyer, which has actually been updated. I'm just lazy about doing that right now. It's another one of the Exceldro ones. It has uses for that, but we're not going to discuss that today. This is only the stuff that this thing can do. This machine uses. Downstream keyer. It's at 033. Not what I meant to do. Always. Go in here. Gonna extract it. The one thing I also need to do while I'm thinking about it, since I've already backed it up on the server, is get all the OBS Studio configs over here. The one that's in... a lot of that stuff's going to go in there anyway. I'm probably going to end up making a copy of that Stream Up installation anyway, simply because it's already in that form, and we just copy it in one go. It's done. We're gonna go up there in case. Actually, no, that's not what we want. It's that button we wanted. I wanted to go up a directory item. Encoder. Let's see. Downstream keyer. Encoder region of interest editor. That I think only. I'm not sure if it works for anything other than NVIDIA. And one thing to note is that if you looked at that list earlier, a lot of these other plugins have OBS in front of it. The rules are you don't use OBS in the name itself in your plugin, like OBS this, OBS that. but I'm only keeping an eye on there in case I need it. Loudness dock is one of the ones I also want to mess with, because basically there's some let's see, like for example OBS. I'm just trying to remember if that's here or if I have to go up a level for that. Like loudness dock right here. Okay, I was just trying to find what was if I was hearing something, but nope, it was something from within the music itself. So we're gonna go to programs. I don't think I have an installer for this particular plugin, and I'm not gonna mess with the with that directory tree just now. Programs, OBS Studio. And I'll just do this. Do this on all current items. Basically telling it to do it in privileged mode. And the next one, and whenever we get one I know has an installer, we'll go into the install directory and run the installer itself. Or go into the zip file that contains it and installs it. One of the reasons why a lot of these people are nowadays using zip files to do these files is because the web browser will probably see it and say, "Oh, this thing is it's a seldomly used program. We're gonna block downloading it." And in the case of some of them. In the case of a severe case of false alarm, it'll actually say, "We ain't letting you download this at all." But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We just did downstream here and Encoder. Oh, that's right. I think Encoder. Trying to remember if Encoder region of interest is in there. Let's see here. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm going to get the ones that matter the most. Loudness dock we've already got. Move. That I use a lot, which is, in fact, whenever you see me go between, I'm going to go take a look at the display here. Hang on a second. I'm going to switch over here and look at this. When I do this, when you see my my material stream go away and come back like that, that's this plugin. It's also by Exceldro. Exceldro's plugins are just insanely useful, let me tell you. So we're going to go in here. We're going to install that plugin as well. And those are always installed as they're always downloaded from Exceldro by way of the OBS Studio forums as zip files. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go into, let's see, we're in the plugins. We want to go in the installers directory. Move that they have is version 3.1.5. It may or may not have updated it, but we'll take a look anyway. 3.1.5, I believe it is. Yes. Go into there. It takes a little bit of time because it has to go over the network, and then it goes and double checks the signatures to see if it's properly signed. All of Exceldro's stuff is signed. even the ones that happen to say, are you sure you want to do this? And I'll show you any of those in just a sec here. There you go. We install that. I don't actively use this one on this particular on the encoder computer. It gets used all the time on my other studio machine though. But if I wanted to use it, it's there. We're going to go up one here. The next one I have in this list is Quick Access Utility. That basically gives you the ability to go into various areas in your setup, and without having to go dig through a whole bunch of files here. So we're going to go into here. I'll have to show some of that stuff in there at some point. I may actually have to go up one here. It says OBS Quick Access Utility. That one is in fact an installer. Because there are some of the ones that you'll get the blue screen, that blue window in there that comes up that says it either stops you or more information, and it gives you the option to install something anyway. Finish. And then we're going to go to the next one, which is Retro Effects. Like, for example, if you want to show an old video type or film type effect, you can do that. Like if you have a scanner sync issue, it'll make a you can do stuff like that. You can do like creased tapes where you see like a thing across the width of the window of the screen that travels up or down depending on which direction the scanner is spinning. In the case of VHS, it always travels downward. On 1 inch, and some other machines, it goes up because the top of the screen is the end that's closest to the supply reel. Excuse me, the closest to the take-up reel, and then the bottom of the screen is closest to the supply reel. And and then like for example, if a fold on the tape comes in, it looks it starts at the bottom and then works its way up as the tape goes across the scanner drum. So it gives you, this particular plugin gives you some effects like weird color, like chroma phasing issues, graininess, or what have you. You can do that with that. Next one is Scene Collection Manager. Very nice one. Allows you to you can use that to back up stuff. And make sure you have a copy of them handy. So let's go into there real quick here. That's another Exceldra one. Scene Collection Manager, that is the most recent version, so let's go get it. And one other thing I also strongly recommend, I mentioned Andy Lippy earlier, go check out his YouTube channel. He has a lot of good stuff he talks about. He every now and again will also talk about forthcoming releases of OBS Studio, as well as, of course, all the various plugins out there that you can get, as well as some of the stuff he's been working on himself. And he has and he also has a Twitch channel as well. So go check him out. Let me give you let me give him a real quick shout out here. Hang on, make sure I have the right keyboard in there. Make sure I have the right mouse, pointing the mouse to the right computer. And there you go. There you go. Very, 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 very nice guy. Very useful tools that he not only makes but also talks about on his YouTube channel. And it is a lot of this is a lot of the stuff I learned. A lot of the stuff I learned about for all the stuff I use here. I learned from him. Good stuff. And I couldn't recommend his stuff more strongly. So anyway, the next one is where were we? Oh yeah, Scene Collection Manager. Oh, so I actually have the back to the right mouse again, right computer again. Excuse me. And of course, this is a subset of what my other machine uses. My other machine, which is the studio machine, has a lot more of these, and I'll also see about getting all the links that I have in this particular machine. At some point, I might even put a list of all the plugins I use on all the machines. And the one that uses the absolute fewest ones is my controller machine, which has all my Stream Decks hooked up to. It only has one external plugin, and that one being the advanced scene switcher one, which is the one. And what it does is it listens for events and then turns on the music that you're hearing. Okay. Scene notes doc. That one's useful. I'll show you what I'm talking. Let's see if I happen to have one. I don't want to have to do any scene changes, but the idea behind that is you can actually keep a note as to what the current scene is, and just jot something down, and it gets stored as part of the configuration. Excuse me. Scene notes doc, it is at 020. Basically, it gives you a doc where you can write stuff into and say, this scene is for this is for that, and you need, like, for example, you want to write in caveats and stuff like that. And another one here that let's see what we have here. The next one is that I need to install is Scene Tree View. That one I actually have to go and unpack manually. I need to do some. I'm going to start moving these over into the program data directory. I know it's here somewhere. Scene Tree View. Unfortunately, hasn't been maintained in a while. But anyway, we're going to go in and install that. I'm going to see if I can. I might be able to show that. I can actually show this on stream without too much difficulty. And this is a really, really, really nice plugin. But like I said, it does take a little bit of little finagling to make that work, right? Do this for everything. And it goes. For that one, let me show you that one. I'm going to switch over here real quick first. And we're going to go to probably the one I could use the best on this one would be this one in here, which would be my main one. I'm going to, I believe I have the right one in here. Let's go ahead over, turn off it's going to turn off the preview here temporarily. We're going to go back, not that one. We want that one. And we're going to go over here. I'm going to show you over here. Right there, it shows you Let me do that. I don't know if you can see my I don't know if you can see my mouse in here or not, but anyway, this is, and then I can also show you the scene notes here, for example. Primary scene through the throughout the show. I have templates for various different programming sources I use throughout the show. Blah blah blah. That's the scene notes panel, and then that's just the main scene one that OBS Studio puts in. But that one is the scene tree, which shows you, for example, main program sequence. That shows a list of all the. I think you can actually see my mouse in there. That has all the lists. That has a list of all the scenes that I use in there, and then further down. Hang on just a sec. I'll be right with you in just a moment here. Oh, just one of those that says, usually it says to something from Mr. and Mrs. Likely, Mr. and Mrs. Spam Likely. Anyway. So anyway, this is the, like for example, this is all the stuff where I go to, I also use them for triggers. That's where all the stuff happens over here. This is where all the magic happens here. This shows all the events that happen. Like, for example, if you see this, at the end of my logo video, depending on which one it is, it'll go to that point, and it says, when it does that, it sends a message to the controller machine, or the encoder. It'll do it to the encoder if it's there, but it also goes to the encoder, the controller machine, which is always on, because that's the one that actually has the thing there, and then it does. And I can also turn on and off events here. That is Advanced Scene Switcher. That is an insanely powerful piece of automation software. I cannot emphasize how useful it is, and I strongly recommend anybody who's worth their to learn a little bit more about this particular plugin. If you use OBS Studio with any kind of heavy kind of frequency and need to be able to automate a bit more of that stuff. But anyway, this is how, like for example, I put all my, and on top of that, I make extensive uses of nested sources here. Like for example, what you're seeing here is like the branding and socials, stuff like that. That's what this is for. That's what the that's the quick picker. That's what this does over here. I can go look at other stuff here. Let's see. And then over here, I'll show like source mappings. Like this is source A. I'm not using anything on sources B or C right now, but basically, I map that to whatever I need it to map to. I have a whole bunch of different things I can do here, and I'm using the tools. If I can find out, there it is, scripts. In this case, I'm using Source Toggler, which basically says only this source on this scene of any of these scenes can be active at any given time. If anything else gets selected, turn everything else off. But anyway, that is one of the, that's another Exceldro masterpiece. Again, I cannot emphasize how useful these are. I would strongly recommend checking those out. Another here, and now we're going to go over here. We're going to go back to the other item here, which is the let's see, we're going to go back to HDMI capture, and it just went out. Reminds me, Wake up. Wake up, computer. There we go. So we need to go to the list here again. I need to go back to the other computer here. There we go. Okay, we need to go to next item here, which is source clone. It's great if you want to have, if you only want to include it once and make changes to it without having to include it again. You may have reasons to include another instance of a particular source a second time, and I won't judge for that, but this allows you to use one source once into the system and use clones of it. Like, for example, whenever you hear the when you're listening to the music, it's actually a clone of the original source, and that's what I use to bring the music into the system. I have one source that is full volume when you first come off my my Q&A intro video, and then when you come to the other screen, it goes to a lower version after I say hello everybody, welcome to thank you for joining me, etc. When I go to the new one, it actually goes ahead and goes to a different version of that. This is a clone of the original one, but with a different volume. Then we're going to go into installers. And that would be source clone, another one by Exceldro. Very good stuff. .1.5, I believe, is this one. And you have a whole bunch of options you can make changes in. Again, this is all stuff that you can always go and download and install on OBS Studio. And if you haven't become a member of the forum, the OBS Studio forum, the OBS project forum, excuse me, I strongly recommend doing it. And on top of that, I'm always there. I'm always hanging around, making comments, especially on some of the more esoteric ones, such as Distro AV, which we'll be doing in a bit. Which is kind of important for some of the stuff I do. Let's see. So that one is that one. Let's see. Source copy. This is another Exceldro one that is very useful. It allows you to make allows you to get a copy of like a source or even an entire scene. Put it elsewhere in your, say, OBS Studio setup, or make a copy of it so you can move it to another computer, for example. Whether on the same computer or on another one by way of, say, some sort of storage, or whether it's over the network or by sneaker netting it. Source copy, and that one is at 0.2.6 on my setup, and I believe it's also the latest for one that's actually in release. You can do individual sources. You can do entire scenes with it. And the next one is Stream Up. I will do that in a bit, and it's going to be a straight across copy. I'm going to do that from the other computer in a bit. Let's see, Teleport. That's another program that's been very useful too. There are multiple ways you can send video and sound from one OBS Studio instance to another. This is one of them. I've used it on occasion. I don't use it nearly as much anymore, but I keep it on hand, as the old saying goes, just in case, because you never know when it'll be useful. The 0.7.5 just released recently, and it just came out for Windows on ARM. And of course, OBS Studio itself just recently came out as an at least some of the initial releases as Windows on ARM releases, and it's still very, very early yet. And I only copy the one file over. There aren't any other items in there. Yep, we want that in there. In elevated privileges, so we're good there. The next one we're going to do is toolbar. What that does, it gives you a nice big toolbar which has stuff for streaming, your OBS camera, and recording, as well as a few other items that you can have. And I usually keep that at the very top as a wide window toolbar. So let's go up here. I think there's a display. There's actually an installer for it. So let's go in here. OBS toolbar. It hasn't been updated since for a while. Yes. I think it may have already installed it, so I'm not going to worry about it. The next one we're almost done with all these other items here. Transition table. That is basically a way of saying from this particular scene to this particular scene, you want to assign a particular transition, whether it is like crossfade, which they'll say is they either call it fade. I usually call it, in the original television studio setup, it's called dissolve. You can use wipes, you can use whatever, you can use stingers, whatever. I use that all the time on the studio. Once I say hello, thank you for joining me. You have my videotape start one that gets me started. I use that as a that's actually set up in by way of the transition table. Another Excel draw great. Not what I meant to do. I think 2.7 is the latest. That is the latest one. Let's go ahead and install it. Finish. And the next one is the V-Band audio plugin. The interesting thing about if you're familiar with Voicemeeter, it has the ability to send audio over a network, which is what is called V-Band or a VB audio network. The actual API is documented pretty clearly, so you could actually write something, and this actually sends stuff straight out the back of OBS Studio, and can also receive it straight in. In fact, either the V-band receptors as they call it, I believe, or Voicemeter itself, they don't have to be there. It helps though. I actually I put it in there even though I don't actively use it. I don't think there's an installer for it. I actually have to drag it in. So we're going to go up here. Actually, we need to do this. In this case, it's right over here, 0.3.0, which is the latest version. Again, do this for all items. At some point, I'm going to be taking all the ones that are hand copied and sticking them in their own, in the directory within the source. Program data hierarchy. Makes it easier to do that, and on top of that, I can copy the whole thing in one go if I wanted to. And the final one, it says it's called XOBS Beam, or just Beam for short, BEAM. This is what I use to move uncompressed video and audio from the various machines to the other computers across the network when I have full 10 gig Ethernet available. Right now, I don't want to run it simply because of the fact it is still kind of hot. But I definitely want to use this. I believe 1.1 is the latest release. Nope, that's not the one we want. We want to go into the installers. Run it in and gets it installed. And there you go. And that allows you to have sources and filters, so then you can send high quality, and sometimes high throughput video over your network. Using certain methods of compression depending on the type of color space you're using. For my video, for my VTuber model scene, and I could show, I could probably show you that on stream without too much difficulty. Let me go ahead and bring up. I'm going to go look at my. I need to switch over to that. I'm going to show how that looks. Because you can actually run your VTuber model on a completely different computer and send it over there, but you can actually and send it without even have any kind of not even worrying about the transparency, because you can actually send a transparent stream across across your network. And I'll show you how that works here by going over to. First of all, I need to switch. I'm going to switch over here real quick here. And we're going to go here, switch over to the window capture. I need to go over here, switch to here. I should be able to show this without too much difficulty here. And there you see my OBS Studio situation is on the upper left hand. Oops, let me try that again. There. And in the upper left-hand area that you can see, there is my there's the canvas with my OBS Studio session up there. I'm also going to hit F9 real quick here. Let me do this with the right machine here. Oh, let me do this real quick here while I'm here. The fun part is you can actually watch some of this stuff as it starts. And then I'll go ahead and collect that, and then put that down there, and then of course hit. And as you can see the main thing on the main screen. Basically, two of the three ways of moving video across the network can actually send transparency over there. What we just installed was Beam. It would, in order for me to do that, as a matter of fact, I could probably even go so far as to make this work with of Schust and not even involve OBS Studio. But I prefer to do it this way because I want to be able to send signaling over that without too much difficulty. And there is no way of sending VTube Studio, over BitFocus Companion yet. The only support that I could see for it right now is via Elgato's own Stream Deck software. And of course, I don't actively use that software mainly because it does not happen to have the ability to talk talk across multiple systems, especially multiple instances of OBS Studio. The best you can have is maybe 1 or 2 with plugins. But anyway, that is how my setup works using by, and of course you see VBridger here, VTube Studio underneath, and of course over here is my my OBS Studio, which then sends it out the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch back over to this. There we go. And there you go. You got to see a little bit more on the inside of my my setup there. Excuse me. Anyway, let's go and head back to... I'm heading back to the list here so I can see what I'm doing here. Oh, I need to get over here. And the one thing we got to do for that one is we need to go over... Oops. Oops, if I use the right machine... I need to go to that. Oops, I need to go over here because I need to hover my mouse over a different area. Just because for just a moment, because I lost my display for a moment. And one of the things I also have to install is the other one that's the counterpart to ADA Multistream, which is of course the multi RTMP item here, and there is a proper installer here, but it installs it in /program data in that directory hierarchy for OBS Studio there. It might be under OBS multi. Yeah, there it is. Actually, yep, it's, oh, I see. Next. And closed. And I'll check in a moment to see if it actually went in right. We've got that one, and the next thing we need to do is over here we have the ENVTuber, that one's already there. WebRTC, WebRTC, that is actually an internal component. I'm looking at the items that weren't that were enumerated by the plugin items in the system that do not have plugin versioning information in them. Some of them already are installed because they are actually part of the OBS Studio distribution. Multi-RTMP, had to manually install that one, of course, just now. So now the next thing we need to do is... install some of this in there. Oops. Not what I meant to do. There we go. And finish. And then, let's see. I think that's all the ones we need there. And the next one's going to require some additional software. And distro AV isn't even in this list, but that's okay. We are perfectly all right with that. What we need to do on this one now there we go. We have OBS Studio. Plugins. And there's the stuff that just got installed. Now we need to go do one more item here while I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna go to the other computer for just a sec. I'm gonna copy that whole thing and I'll show you that in a minute. Once I get it over there, I'm going to copy it there. I was using the wrong keyboard for just a moment, sending information to the wrong computer. Oops. I'm going to copy that here. And I think the big reason why the that stream up won't see it is because it's looking in /program data, as opposed to the usual spot in OBS Studio where it finds stuff. So what I'm going to do over there, now that I've got that copied here, we're going to copy it to the server. And it's not letting me do it. Let's go do this real quick. .36, 36. The IP address. There we go. Now let's go ahead and log into. Go into the files there. That's not where I wanted to go. That's where I wanted to go. Oh, hang on a sec. I need to go up one more. Create new directory. Okay, now I'm in. All right, there we go. Encoder. There we go. Now we can go over here. I'm going to open a new window here. Oops. Helps if I have the right. Hopes I have the right mouse open. Or at least having the mouse pointing to the right spot. Not this. Hang on. Let's see. Need to go up one. We're going to go into backups, ops, encoder, plugins, and then we're just going to drop it straight in. OBS Studio. Plugins. I might just do that just to make it happier. Can we do Control V? Actually, no, we'll be fine. There it is. And I think there's only one last item I need to get, and that will be on right here. Framing software. And we need NDI 6 tools. 6.2.1 just 6.2.1.0 just dropped today, or recently anyway. Stand by, I'll be right back. God, I hate these people. One of the things you have to remember is be very careful what words you use, especially a certain 3-letter affirmative word, because that is actually, apparently it does carry legal weight, depending on what you say. Anyway, I mean, even if it's just a simple of, are you there? Watch what you say. One of the things it's probably going to ask me, and that's an email address. I'm going to be switching over to a different screen for that, and then we'll go back and finish the installation. And then what we're going to also do is make a copy of all the configs. Man, it's the worst, especially when I'm I'm waiting on a call. Oh yeah, that is just so sucktastic. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that absolutely sucks. So anyway, we're in the process of waiting for, that's the runtime for NDI that is needed for the rest of this particular plugin. Hang on. Oh dear, I don't know why it did that, especially considering it's so innocuous for what you're saying. And it's talking about what the phone has. Whatever. But yeah, it absolutely sucks whenever people do stupid stuff like that. It's the V word, yeah. Nah, it's not your fault. It's like I see that up there, it's like, what the hell is that doing here? How dare they? Anyway. We're about to finish installing that. I'll start the, I'll go ahead and I'll try and start it up real quick. And what we're going to do real quick here is this. There we go. We need California. Okay. And of course, there's the main application that presents you with. This one by far is probably the most one of the ones I use the most, simply so I can watch the stream as I'm doing the show, and on top of that, I can I can do a lot of troubleshooting that way. In fact, I used that earlier when before I had to uninstall that particular update that was causing causing OBS Studio to not work right across sending the I don't know what was going on, but anyway, point being is that has been fixed. And for this one, we need, of course, the actual distro AV plugin. Okay, that one. And in the case of distro AV, they did a name change. So then OBS Studio and that OBS and DVI neither appeared in the name, so they call it distro AV. Oh, okay, I'm in there. Oops. Try that again. Distro AV 611 is the latest release. And then, of course, if you have the really old version of it, it wants to remove those and allow OBS and distro AV components of it to go through the firewall. And there it goes. I think everything has now been installed. About the only thing left now is to go to... Oops. Then we're going to go into here. Roaming. OBS Studio hasn't been put on yet, but we're about to, though. If I haven't already, let me go take a look at that real quick here while I'm here. Of course, I won't be able to test it here because, well, I'm actually streaming, and B, not all the hardware that I want in there is installed yet. In fact, C, I'm actually using some of it. Let's see, backup encoder. Oh yeah, it's already here. All I have to do is this. Open up another instance of Explorer. No, that's not where we wanted to go. We wanted to go to the server. Backups, ops, encoder, configs. Roaming and we're copying it in, and we're going to go ahead and fire it up and see what happens. Of course, some of it's going to be a little bit broken by virtue of the fact that not everything is here. So we're going to tuck that away for now. We're going to close this one out because we don't need it. Up it comes. It'll take a moment or so. And of course, a lot of files need to be copied from another, from the other machine anyway. And it would probably be best if I did that after stream, but at least it got it started. It'll probably complain about missing files, which I'm perfectly okay with because I haven't copied the Mother yet. I will do that after stream. But at least I wanted to talk about some of the stuff I use and show at least how some people, how you folks might find it useful to make use of it. We're going to run normally. Probably because the machine, I copied the files in there while the machine was running. That's probably why it's saying, oh, by the way, it's starting in, it wants to start it wants to run in safe mode. It's like, yeah, of course it's not running in safe mode when I copied it over. It's like, yeah, the machine was hot when I copied it. That'll take a little bit of time. Gonna take a mo or so. Exit out of Chrome on that other machine. I can go ahead and close this out. I can go ahead and open the preview. Oops, let's try that again. Task Manager, let's see if OBS Studio is running. Well, it says it's running. I'll deal with that later. Yeah, it's taken a little bit of time to get all that in there. It's like, man, why? Oh, here it comes. We can go ahead and close that out now. Taking its sweet time, but then again, it is the first time this is run. And on top of that, a whole bunch of directory trees are missing too. So it's like, yeah, I know it's going to be broken for a short time, but that's okay. I just wanted to see that it actually started. There it goes. Yep, there it is. It's complaining. And I also need to copy in scripts as well, so that's no big deal. We'll deal with that at some point. It looks good. Let's see. Yep, sure enough, there's my YouTube one. I'm not going to open it up because I don't want people necessarily to see that stuff. So, yeah. Everything looks good. So I think we're just about set. There is one plugin open downstream here, which I already knew had an update, so I'm not worried about that. So I think we are set. The only thing I have to do now is get all the rest of the material in there. This is just so we can at least make sure that everything got in and is working. So close that out. And we're going to go ahead and go back to the main window here. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this inside the workings of the Phloxworthy Workshop and Labs. My streaming operations, or at least part of it thereof, with one of the machines in the process and getting prepared for use for my streaming operations. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that, because I really enjoyed doing that, and I wanted to show how one of the things that I do as far as preparing these machines goes. But like I said, it'll probably be a day or so, but I'm going to try and bring a lot of the information in for you, putting it into a pinned comment, as well as updating the description to have all that information. It was neat, and learning about Chocolatey was nice. Yes, one of the nicest pieces of software that I've come across when it comes to managing all the software that I have on here. But like I said, I think it's not exactly as suited for dealing with, say, OBS Studio, even though, yeah, it does actually load OBS Studio. In the past, you used to be able to load stuff like when it used to be called OBS NDI. I would still strongly recommend learning how to manage it manually, at least until some nicer software can come out and actually manage all this other software, especially considering some of the stuff is manually unpacked. And especially since some of the other stuff like Distro AV and the multi-RTMP target plugin don't plug into standard OBS Studio program files tree rather. By default, when you install it, it actually installs it into C:\program data on a default setup here. And on top of that, I don't cover stuff like portable installations or installations coming by way of Steam or the Microsoft Store. So I'm going strictly by standard stuff because I want to be able to do it as I want to be able to have as much control over how the system works as I can. That's why I do things as I do them. So anyway, like I said, I hope I'm going to try and get as much information as I can before too long, and make it available for you guys. Like I said, whether it's a pinned comment or whatever. But anyway, I'm like I said, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this, and hope you learned a thing or two about this, because these are so useful. A lot of this stuff is so useful and so fun to play with at times too, because you never know how useful these will end up being. So on that note, I'm gonna go see if we can find somewhere to go invade over on. Well, I only mean it in the nice sense of the word. Anyway, go check in with them and say hi to them, and I'll finish up getting that done, and then I will go break something on stream with the new server by using the new server. If you get my point. Need to go back and review that bit about Sammy, since my headphones decided to act up. Yeah, basically, Sammy. I was referring to the Leornboard treat on my directory, where basically Leornboard was the predecessor to Sammy, and that's a pretty sordid mess, and that happened about 2 years ago, and it was a big ugly mess. But anyway, it is what I used prior to getting Stream Decks, and then of course the Stream Decks, of course, are using the BitFocus Companion backend to handle stuff with OBS Studio and various other programs, including Home Assistant, which is what I'm using to handle the electrical side of things, like turning the computers on and off, and a few other things too. And it works pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. And on top of that, I also use that near the end of the show in order to say, here are the RAID strings and stuff like that to copy and paste and stuff like that. You can do a few other things with that too. I'm also going to start playing with StreamerBot at some point. It's going to be a little bit of time before I actually do any of that. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to find us somebody to go say hello to over on Twitch. Just trying to find someone I haven't rated in a while, if ever. And of course, by all means, this is also not the only machine that I stream with. This is just the exit point going to the various places like going to Twitch and YouTube. I think I know who we might go and visit. We're going to go check in with if I can get it ready. Going to Ruruka Runa. She is playing Resident Evil 4. I still need to start playing Resident Evil at some point. And before we go, let's go and do the usual activities before we go. First of all, I want to go ahead and give you the usual test for those people who don't have subs. And here's some text for those who do. Let me go and grab that for myself real quick here. And go ahead and start the go ahead and get the raid going. Oh yeah, there we go. It's already doing it. Anyway, I want to say thank you so much for coming on by, and I hope you guys enjoyed all the usual stuff that I've been doing. And it's been a rather interesting time getting that going. So in the meantime, I hope you guys did a great one, and Slavu Kraini, and I'll try that again. Slavu Kraini, and I'll see you next time, and I hope you had a great one in the meantime. And until then, I hope you have a great one, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great one. Bye.